Alright, welcome back. So, to start off, let's do some research. What kind of a toy train are we going to make? So pull up your favorite web browser, go to a Google image search. Toy trains I'm talking about are like the little wooden ones that like toddlers and stuff play with. So if I type in wooden toy train, you get a whole bunch of images. And there's lots of good stuff here. So kind of my personal favorite is this one over here, where we have a whole bunch of different shapes and different colors, and it just looks fun. We are going to be making the engine as well as two cars to go along with it. And for the cars, I like something a little more like this, where it's just kind of an empty box. We don't have to do too much crazy stuff. But let me pull this up. I'm going to pull it off to the side. And then over here in Maya, I can start building with my primitives. So I'm going to come up to Create, go to Polygon Primitives, and I can just tear this off. If I click on this double line right here, I can tear that off and keep it in a place where I don't have to keep going up to Create Polygon Primitives and choosing what I want. And so I'm going to start just with that base right there. So I'm going to start with a cube. Just start to kind of scale it out. It's not going to be an exact science, but that's okay. And then maybe let me make the wheels to go on here. Those are going to be cylinders, and I'm going to turn them 90 degrees on their z-axis. I just type in 90 right there. Switch back to my scale tool. Shrink those down a little bit, and I can start to place this. Zoom in. Now this doesn't have to be exactly right, like touching anything, but we'll get it close. Alright, and so instead of trying to make 3 more exactly like that, I'm going to duplicate. So Command D. Let's move that a little bit further back. Then I can select both of those, duplicate again, and then actually, if I look at this, I can see that my translate X is 2.296. I can grab these two and just type in minus 2.296, and that'll kind of mirror it for me. So now as I'm building this, I'm actually building it like kind of through what I would say is the floor. So I want to move these up some. Select everything, and I'm going to press D to get into this edit pivot mode, and I want to set this to be on the very bottom of those wheels, and then I'll exit that pivot mode by pressing D again, and then snap to grid, and go back here. Snap those onto the ground. Alright, so now if you look, that base is the same for all 3 objects. So I can take this, I'm going to pull up my outliner just so we can see kind of what's going on. Move this out of the way. I'm going to group these together. So I'm going to press Command G, and I can take that whole group and duplicate it. And I'm just going to move it back some. Let's do this from the top. I'm going to snap to grid, and let's pull that back some. There we go. That's how far I want it. I want there to be a grid line kind of in between these, because we're going to rig this up later, and I want to be able to put a joint right there, snapping to grid as well. So that's our second car. I'm going to duplicate again, and same thing, snap to grid, and leave a space there. And now I can go and start to name these things. So my first group, this is going to be my engine. I double click to rename that. This can just be car 1, so you can either double click in the outliner or in the channel box, just come up and click once on its name. Maybe we can rename this one. So car 1, and then on group 3, rename that to car 2. Oops, sorry. Let's capital C. Alright, so next, that's pretty much going to be it for our cars until the next video. Now for the rest of our engine here, we need a cylinder for the boiler, a couple cylinders for the chimney and the steam dome, and then a couple of cubes for the cab. So let me select that base part of my engine. I'm going to hit F to frame in on it. And let's go create that cylinder. I can move this up. We're going to rotate it 90 in the X axis. So rotate X. It's best to just type in 90 for that. And let's scale it up some. So you can see where this slightly goes into that base. And then I'm just eyeballing a lot of this. It doesn't look like the edge of it goes all the way to the edge of the base. So this could scale up a little more maybe. That looks pretty good. It's pretty close to 1.5, so I'm going to select all these and just type that in. Then I can make this just a little bit longer and move this up. I think that looks pretty good. And so yeah, that will cut into that base there. There's a lot of creative liberties that you can take on this, and that is perfectly fine. Alright, so for this base part of the engine, let's make a cube. We're going to move this up. Alright, so this does pretty much go to the edge of the base. There's a little bit of a lip there. And so we can go to our scale tool. Going to bring this out. Maybe not that far. I can make this tall. It's got to be a lot taller than that. And then we'll start to scale it this way as well. I can see back over there. I'm going to zoom in right there. So there's a little bit of space there. I know there's there's a section on the back where they actually hook together. So I think that's what I'm seeing. So we can keep this pretty close to the back here. But so something like that. Again, lots of creative liberties. We can go back and change the size of that as well. This is fine if they intersect for now. Let's do another cube. And this one's going to go on top of the cab there, the little roof. And I'm just going to scale it out like that. We're going to keep this really blocky still. There's a lot. In the next video we will go and add a lot more detail to these things. So in the next video we'll add that rounded part. So that is perfectly fine for right now. Just kind of overlapping, keep the rain off of everybody. And then these last two are going to just be cylinders. So we'll start with the steam dome there. Little cylinder. Scale it in here. About like that. And then one more for the chimney. And I'm going to get a little creative with this. So this could be a little bit skinnier. I'm going to leave it thicker than this one. But it needs to be taller. So that can go ahead and cut through there, because that chimney pretty much goes at least up to the same height as the cab there. So that looks good. So like I said, we'll add in that curve in the next video. Alright, so that's good for right now. Let's save this again. So file, save scene. It's going to overwrite the one we saved in the last video. And then, as I alluded to, we're going to add in a lot more detail in the next video. So we'll be going in and editing our components and doing lots of cool stuff. So come on back.